All right, well, let's get into it. Those of you that don't know me, I'm Ryan Foultz with PCRX Computers. We're local. I've been in the industry for over 20 years, born and raised here in Conway, South Carolina, the host of Tech Talk on 94.5 at 10 o'clock on Saturday mornings with these two guys here. And wrote the book, Welcome to the Jungle, which I have some copies of. If you guys are interested, we can talk about that afterwards. But I did bring some copies with me this time. So we're going to be talking a little bit about cybersecurity, and then, a lot of people ask me, well, this is great, I sign up for all of these things, but all my information is still out there. How do I get rid of it? And so we're going to help you answer that question in just a few minutes. So what do? We help businesses with IT support, telephone systems, co-managed IT, cybersecurity, of course, and backup and recovery, which is extremely important because business owners don't generally know how to protect their data. And so that's why we come alongside them and provide them a service to where we can protect their data from getting hacked from those hackers. All right, cybercrime. Expected to skyrocket in the coming years. You can see where it was in 2018 and where it will be in 2027. And that's in the trillions of dollars, so $23 trillion in cybercrime. That is why it's so important to protect your data and to have someone help you protect it if you don't know how to do it. Even personally, it's important because that's all your data is, everything about you. And so you want to make sure that you're protecting that. This I just got, this is hot off the press. This is the first quarter of this year. 841 total compromises with 28 million total victims. And that's just the first quarter of this year. Financial services and healthcare are under attack. If you're in those two industries or know people that are, it's important that we get to talk to them because a lot of them are not HIPAA. They're supposed to be abiding by HIPAA, but they're not. And this is going to come back to bite them, which is why you guys have probably heard a lot of these: Loan Depot, Medical Management Resource Group, Plaza Radiology. A lot of it is healthcare related, so those folks that are in healthcare, it's important that we get to talk to them. Cyber attacks alone were 642 with 28 million victims. System and human errors, 85 breaches, and that's a big one because we do it, right? We make the mistake, we click on the phishing email, and that's a lot of times how these compromises happen. And I think supply chain attacks is important too, 50 breaches and exposures, because supply chain that's what it is, it's our supply chain. So we need to be protecting these things. All right, something to think about, 81% of security breaches come from weak or stolen passwords. We have one password, and we maybe have another password that's similar to that password, and maybe we have a third one that's similar to that one, right? You want to make sure that your passwords are changed. 3 out of 4 companies do not have a password manager. If you do not have a password manager, I would strongly recommend that you get one. And 55% of security breach victims are small businesses, and a lot of people don't think that they're a target. And they're not necessarily targeting Peggy and Nyla. They're targeting Peggy and Nyla's security holes. So that's what you have to understand. If you have vulnerabilities and you have security holes, that's what they're targeting. They're not targeting you specifically. All right, data breaches are the new normal. This, and I've talked about this before, but it still is sobering that 4 million records are stolen every single day, which amounts to, if you can look all the way down here, every second 46 records are stolen. So we have to be vigilant in protecting ourselves. And a lot of the tools that we've known to use in the past aren't necessarily working like they're supposed to. Our antivirus programs that were built in 2000 were made to fight viruses in 2000, but guess what? We've gone a long way past that, right? They're still reactive. What they do is you pay this money, when something gets on your system, it reacts to it. We don't want it to get on your system at all. That's the secret to cybersecurity, is just don't let it get on your system. 75% of ransomware victims report having up-to-date antivirus. It's not going to protect you against ransomware. Too many businesses think, oh, I have antivirus, I'm protected, but you're not. You got to have more than that. If you just had a dog at your house, is that enough protection for your family if someone was trying to break in? No, you probably want to have an alarm system, you might want to have a gun, right? You know, all those types of things. Same way when you're protecting yourself. But businesses are at risk, pretty simple. Small business, big business, businesses that are in the cloud. I hear a lot of people say, well, all the things that I use are in the cloud, and that's all great. But if they get into your local system and they get into your computer and all your passwords are on your computer, then guess what? They can get into that too. So we need to make sure that you guys are protected. Even if you have software in the cloud, it is still subject to being stolen. So real quick, the 5-question test, and I don't think I've covered this in this particular class before, but some things to ask yourself. Do you have multi-factor authentication for your email and sensitive information? In other words, do you get that alert or that little code that's texted to you, or do you have an authentication app? Number 2, do you have backups, and are you sure that they are working? Just because you back it up, if something happens and it crashes, and then is your data still good? Because if you get ransomware and it's backing up ransomware, odds are your data's not good because it's just backing up corrupted files. It's important to check your backups or have someone check them for you. Do you have up-to-date active antivirus installed on all of your computers? And I see this a lot. You might think that that's simple, and I just actually did a penetration test for someone the other day. And all of the antiviruses were not updated. They just, all of the definitions had expired. It's not going to protect you that great to begin with, but if you don't update it, it's not going to protect you even, not that good at all, period. Do you have written documentation for a breach response plan? If you're a business owner, what happens if this does happen to you? What's the next step? Do we just freak out and say, oh my God, this is the end of the world? What is the plan?
Call Ryan.
You call me, right? That's what happens most of the time. And that's a tough spot for me because I don't like sitting across from business owners that are in tears because they've lost everything, hundreds of thousands of dollars, sometimes millions of dollars in some of these cyber attacks. That's why I'm passionate about trying to get out there and help you guys. Do you have up-to-date active firewall technology? A lot of places don't even have a firewall, don't know what it is, and it's foreign to them. But what happens if you don't have a firewall, even in your home, you get an IP address that's assigned to you. When you sign up for HTC or Spectrum or whatever, you get an IP address. Well, that IP address is public facing. That means I can do a search for it and I can find it. A firewall masks that number and gives a different number to the public. So you want to make sure that you have something that's going to be doing that for your business as one layer of security. So 5-question test. If you're not doing any of these, make sure you make a note of it so there are things that you have some work on when you get back. All right, so Incogni, I talked about this last time, and we partnered with Surfshark. I don't know if you know who they are, but the problem I run into with folks is that you sign up for things, right? And you sign up for things and it says you're subject to what? The privacy policy, the dreaded privacy policy. Who reads the privacy policy in here? Right? So we're just giving away our information. We don't read it. And so what do we do about it? How do we get that information back? So I partnered with them, and this is a program, and we actually get, how much percentage off do we get? 55%. 55% off. They're a sponsor of my radio show. But what they do is they actually, so if you get an email and you unsubscribe, you want to get off that list. So how do you get off all the lists all at one time? You do this because otherwise you'd have to unsubscribe till you're blue in the face. How long would it take you to unsubscribe to everything that you're subscribed to?
Still working on it.
Forever, right? We don't have that kind of time. We're busy people.
Yeah.
It's for $79 a year. It's a no-brainer. It's on my website at the very bottom, pcrxcomputers.com. I think that's what it costs.
Yes, and it's saved me 78 hours Or-
Yeah. Now, I've been using it and I have gotten less spam calls, if any spam
Oh,
calls.
yes.
I've got, my email spam has gone drastically down. I know these guys have been using it, and Glenn, you don't have any spam mail, do you?
I occasionally, but really it's stuff that I've marked as spam, like Wayfair, which I can unsubscribe to, which I have, but it saved me 74 hours and 15 minutes of removal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, my stuff was in 142 different places on the internet, and now
Right.
it is less than 42 places. So
And it's
they want to
amazing,
take care of
the
that.
places that it comes back with that said they have your data. It's amazing. I've never heard of half of these.
No, I haven't either.
Well, because you sign up for Apple, and then Apple takes your information and sells it to HP or whomever, and then
Oh,
the
yeah.
next thing you know, you're on all these lists, and you get this email from some company, and you're like, I never did any business with you in my whole life. But that's what happens. The data brokers are the ones that are making all this money, and so we have to kind of take it back from them and say, hey, I want my information back. It's that important to me. So we've worked out a deal for you guys and our listeners of our show. So I encourage you to do that. Your life will be so much better, I promise you. And with that, I don't have anything else, and I'm going to turn it over to our keynote speaker, which most of you know.
Like a good neighbor.
Like a good neighbor. So Mark Nash is the Citadel in 1990, you graduated in 1990?
I did.
In business administration, Charleston Southern University MBA, married to his wife Kelly for 27 years. Congratulations.
Yeah.
4 kids, 3 USC graduates, 1 still there. Community service, founding chairman of the Georgetown Family YMCA, the board of directors at Tidelands Health, the past president at the Citadel, the Brigadier Foundation, the past president at South Carolina Petroleum Marketers Association, and South Carolina Santee Cooper Advisory Board business founder, and the president and CEO of Nash Oil. So,
And he's a race car driver.
and he's a race car driver. And ladies and gentlemen, Mark Nash, thank you.
Well, Ryan, that might be the second best introduction I've ever had. I had to introduce myself a couple of years ago. I laid it on a little bit thicker than that. That was really good. Good effort. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you today. It really is. I'm very passionate about what I do now. I've been in the insurance business for 9 years. A little background on my family. In State Farm, my dad was a State Farm insurance agent for 33 years in Camden, South Carolina. And when he finished up, he's a Myrtle Beach High graduate. When he finished up in Camden, he was ranked 150 out of 19,000 State Farm agents as far as level of business that he'd achieved in his 33 years. So, yeah, I'm very proud of him, and I really consider ourselves a State Farm family. My brother's been an agent for 34 years. My nephew just became an agent. So we believe in what we sell. We believe in what we talk about each and every day, because I truly believe that we can help mitigate the risk that all of us face as adults and all of us face as business owners. How many business owners do we have out here? Anybody that owns their own business? Okay, yeah. So I wanted to go back and highlight a couple things in my career. I became a business owner in 1995 when I started Nash Oil Company here at the beach. And one of the things that kept me up at night was laying in my bed knowing that I had 30 truck drivers riding around all over 3 or 4 states driving basically sticks of dynamite, with gasoline, diesel fuel, aviation gas, all those types of things. And fortunately for us, in 18 years, we never had any really major claims. So we had a couple claims during that time. But there's a lot of things as a business owner that can keep you up at night. A lot of things as a business owner that you can worry about. And what we do at my agency is we help mitigate those risks. So let's talk about a couple of them. Well, first of all, is anything out here keep you all up at night, financially or running your business? Anybody spitball something? Tell me something that makes you stay up at night, something that you worry about as a business owner.
Manufacturer problems.
Manufacturer problem, that's right, getting the
am.
product. That was a huge problem with mine at Nash Oil Company, trying to get my product when I needed it. Anything else?
Constant deadlines.
Deadlines, oh yeah. What about inflation? Anybody worried about inflation at all? What about employees? Have we talked about employees here in the area? Myrtle Beach is hard to find good employees. And you're only,
Myrtle Beach, they don't hire. There are a lot of people looking.
Right.
You have the backward problem there.
they have the what?
They have the backwards problem here.
Backwards problem.
Yeah, they have a lot of people who want to be hired, but they don't hire.
Right, okay. All right.
Also the pay scale.
Pay scale,
Yeah,
that's
pay
right.
scale is
behind-
very low here.
Yeah, compared to other areas, for sure. So a lot of those things I can't do anything about, but there's a lot of things that I can. But as a business owner, I have those same concerns for sure. So let's talk about some of the risks that we all face as business owners and as adults, really. And the first thing I want to get into is liability. Who knows what liability is? Everybody kind of have a good idea of what that is?
Yep.
All right, so there's three major ways as an adult that you could lose your financial fortune, or your financial future. Number one, first way in the area is liability. So let me tell you a quick story. We had a client when I was in training back in 2016. He came in and we sat down with him, found out he's a business owner, and he was also president of a homeowners association. So what happened subsequently after that was he had a homeowners association meeting at his house. You know, they did the business of the homeowners group. Anybody have a homeowners association in where you live? Okay, so y'all know what I'm talking about. Talking about the roads and the rules and all that type of thing. So they all went out on his deck afterwards, which was 16 feet up in the air, for refreshments. Everything was nice, a nice day, and the deck actually collapsed with 20 people on it. So you can imagine that there were several lawsuits. You can imagine that there were several injuries that occurred from that. So fortunately for our business owner, we actually had the conversation before this happened, thank God, that he had a personal liability umbrella policy in place. So the limit of his homeowner's policy was exhausted very quickly, and then he got into his $2 million umbrella, which he faced no financial hardship because he had this umbrella policy in place. We had talked about the liability issue that you can face if you're not fully protected. So that's number one on liability. Next, let's get into disability. Everybody know what disability is? A couple quick stories. I had an HTC lineman who went out on a hunting trip with a bunch of his buddies, and they were in a four-wheeler or ATV. The ATV rolled over and crushed his leg. So several breaks. So obviously you can't climb a pole as an HTC lineman when you have a broken leg and you're going through several surgeries and rehab. So he was out for about 18 months before he was able to get back into what he did for a living. But my point is, a lot of companies offer disability insurance as a benefit to being an employee there. But the most I've ever seen of disability is 60%. So normally it's 50% is what they offer. So in this case, 60%. But I don't know about y'all, but sometimes it's hard to make it on 100% of your income. So if you're trying to make it on 50 or 60%, that can be a real problem. Fortunately for this young man, we had talked about disability insurance, and we put a plan in place to protect him and his family should something happen to him. So while he was out, he had no financial hardships because we were able to take care of the situation. Let's think about something a little more serious. So I had an orthopedic surgeon in the upstate who was in a bad car accident, and he mangled his right hand. So you can imagine, here's a guy making $750,000, $1 million a year as an orthopedic surgeon. He mangles his right hand, so he can't do surgeries anymore. Is that a problem? That's a problem, right? So let's say, I forget exactly how old he was, but let's say he's 40 years old and he's got 25 years left. Let's say $1 million. That's $25 million that his family would not enjoy if he wasn't able to earn that $1 million a year. Y'all have heard the story of the goose and the golden egg, obviously. Everybody would like to have the goose that lays the golden egg as opposed to just the golden egg. So you can keep getting more, right? So all of you in this room are money machines. One of God's greatest blessings is to get up every day and go to work and earn an income for your family. And that's a beautiful thing. But if something were to happen where you were injured and not able to work, then that can be a problem. And so think of you as a money machine, and that what we do is put a warranty or a guarantee on the money machine. So we take care of that from a disability standpoint. The next thing I want to talk about is premature death. So who in here knows when they're going to die? Anybody? You know? When are you dying? Tell me. Okay.
When I stop breathing.
Yeah, when you stop breathing. That's a good point. So obviously the answer is we don't know when we're going to die. Do any of you know anyone who died what we would consider prematurely, like younger, 20s, 30s, 40s,
13.
50s, 13, yeah, unfortunately. And so, one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about what I do is I see the claims that come across my desk in my little office in Conway and Georgetown, and it's really sad if we've done our job, we've presented the information, of the risks that can happen to people that live lives, adults. And it's really up to y'all what you decide, whether you want to protect your family or with these products or not. So our mission at Mark Nash State Farm is to protect families and legacies one conversation at a time. And let me tell you a quick claim story that's actually happened in my office. I was in training and we visited with the business owner. He told us what was important to him. I'm gonna go over a couple things. He said, if something were to happen to me, my wife's a stay-at-home mom with 3 boys. I want my house to be paid for. I want my medical school to be paid for, all my student loans. I want to replace my income for a period of time, which was 10 years, if I remember correctly. And he wanted his 3 boys to go to South Carolina or Clemson, I forget. And we added up all those costs of what he was looking for. So fast forward a couple of years, my buddy called me that I was in training with. He said, "You remember Mr. such and such?" I said, "Yeah, hey, great man, really nice business owner." And he said, "Well, yeah, last weekend he was out driving, teaching his 15-year-old son how to drive. They were going out Highway 378 in Lexington, and there was an 18-wheeler coming the other way. The young man driving got nervous and got too far over on the right-hand side. You know, sometimes the shoulder of the road is a little dip there, and the front right tire caught that shoulder, flipped the vehicle, and killed our client. The young man was fine." So the beautiful thing about the story, the reason why I shared it, is about 5 days later, my buddy, State Farm agent up in Lexington, we delivered a check to his wife, stay-at-home mom now, for $2.2 million. And she didn't know he had the policy. So she's sitting there for several days wondering how to make ends meet. And then when we found out about the death, we submitted the claim to State Farm and we got the check for the family. So what I do is very serious, and what we do is the reason why I'm passionate about it is because I want all of you to be protected. I don't know how much time I've got. I got a little bit more?
You got one.
A few more, okay. So let's talk about a few other risks real quick. Long-term care. How many of you know anybody went in a nursing home? Anybody been in a nursing home? And you know the cost? What's the cost per year? Any idea? Month? Year? How much does it cost to be in a nursing home?
Almost everything you've got.
Everything you have,
Yeah.
they take it all.
They take it off.
They take it off
And
for
you don't get it
nursing
back.
home.
Well, so the average cost in South Carolina is $80,000 a year, and the average stay is 3 years. So think of that, that's $240,000. So unless you have somebody really that you're friendly with at a nursing home, that you want to leave all your stuff to, your house and everything you worked so hard for, there's ways to prevent that with long-term care, insurance, and those type of products that we offer with my agency. Quick story about my personal family. My wife, her sister, and her brother, their dad went into a home, and after, I think about a year and a half it was, they came to him and said, you know, he's out of money. If y'all will sign over the house that y'all grew up in, then we'll let him stay another year. That's what they said. They didn't give him a chance to sell the house. They just signed over the house because what other choice did they have?
He was in an independent living?
He was in a nursing home.
Oh, a nursing home,
Yes,
okay.
ma'am. So that's a real tough situation. So I always say with business owners, you know, you're not working for the state of South Carolina, you're not working for HTC, you're not working for Wells Fargo or a big company or First Reliance that has a nice benefit package. You probably have a nice retirement plan, a 401k, they offer all that. So, but as a business owner, if you don't create all that yourself, then you don't have it. And so another thing that I can help you with is creating a retirement plan for your business through a 401k or a simple plan. We do a lot of that as well. And what I'll say about that is as I probably have 2 or 3 or 4 meetings a day with individuals, I would say probably on average, maybe 2 out of 10 people are saving properly for retirement. It's expensive. I mean, if you retire at 65 and we're living to 85 or 90, that's a long time. Think about inflation without actually having a paycheck. And I'm hoping at my age of 55 that Social Security will actually be there for me when I get there. I don't know that it will. I mean, there's no guarantee it's going to be there. It's all the government. You ever heard the saying to knock on your door and say, "I'm here to help and I'm from the government"? I don't know about that. So, but let's just open up for questions. These are the things that I'm concerned about as a risk manager. And I have an office in Georgetown. I have an office in Conway as well. We have 14 licensed professionals throughout my agency. We're here to help, and we want to protect families and legacies one conversation at a time. So what questions do we have? Got anything?
I got one, Mark.
Okay.
I know you guys do a great job lobbying our politicians, putting, you know, protections in place for folks. But there are a lot of industries, some of them brand new ones, AI for instance, where there are no standardizations, you know, entertainment companies. I think it's important, like if we're gonna go to barefoot or whatever, they require us to have those $2 million in, you know, liability umbrellas.
Yeah.
But here we are, we're doing it the right way. You got business licenses, liability insurance, et cetera. But then you got other people that are coming in, they're not buying music, for instance. They have no liability insurance. They don't have business licenses. What's going on behind the scenes to make that a level playing field, if anything?
Well, obviously, we try to protect the industry and the consumer through what we do with State Farm and lobbying the government. But you're so true. Like, let's think about this scenario for a minute. So the state minimum liability limits on vehicles right now in South Carolina is $25,000.
Oh, yeah.
For bodily injury, $50,000 for multiple injuries in a vehicle, and $25,000 for property damage. Anybody price a new car in South Carolina? What's a new car cost?
Not
45,000.
$25,000.
I think the average is 48,000 for a new car. That's an average. So if you bump into a brand new Suburban and you total that car, you're going to be out a lot of money if you have the state minimum liability limits, and that's what we do every day when we visit our clients. Okay, let's go over this scenario. What do you think about this, and what do you think about that? I mean, because if it all starts with the little police officer who comes out and he checks the box that says you were at fault. If you're at fault, then the whole legal system goes that way. And then when you're at fault, so if there's any injuries in the vehicle, or if you totaled a brand new Suburban or a Maserati or whatever you totaled, you're responsible. The insurance company is not responsible. The insurance company is going to pay out to the limit of the policy that you chose. So once we pay out, then the rest of the jury awards the rest to collect. And then here's what's going to happen in South Carolina. The judge is going to give you 10 days to fill out a financial statement, and then he's going to give you 90 days to liquidate so you can pay the claim or the verdict of the jury. So it's very important. If you've never been in a serious accident, it's very eye-opening. How many of y'all watch TV at night? Anybody watch TV? Yeah. Have you ever seen the commercial? Have you been injured and can you dial all nines or dial all sevens? Y'all know about that?
Yeah, we know
So
about
if
that.
somebody gets injured, whether it's in a car accident or over at your house or on your boat, they're going to hire a lawyer these days, this day and age. So we live in a very litigious society, and for pennies on the dollar of what the bare minimums are, then you can be fully protected from these types of claims. And I've seen some big ones in my time for sure.
Yeah.
What other questions we
I
have?
got one for
Yes,
you.
sir.
If you are a sole proprietor in your business and you haven't turned it into an LLC or a corporation, you're liable for damages, and your insurance will only go up to so much, and then they'll come after your house.
Mhm.
So creating an LLC or being a corporation protects your assets that you earn through other means or through your business. It protects that, and they can only go through the business for what it's worth. I just think that's a good point to point out to people, because I'm in my 20th year in the shade shutter and blind business,
Mhm.
and I operated as a sole proprietor for,
For a long time.
oh yeah, probably.
You're going into people's houses.
Oh, yeah.
and-
Yeah, probably 10 years, and then I heard that, and I'm like, well, how come nobody told me that?
Right,
So,
yeah.
I'm
So
telling
they
you.
call that the corporate veil.
Yeah.
So if you're operating as a corporation or an LLC, then they have to penetrate the corporate veil to get to you personally.
Right.
So and in South Carolina, that's pretty much upheld for the most part. And in certain states, not so much, but South Carolina for sure.
They will
And-
pierce it if they think you're using it as your personal piggy bank.
Right. That's true. Good point. The other thing I'll mention is $1 million doesn't go as far as it used to, right?
Right.
So whenever I'm doing a business owner's policy for a business owner, I always recommend minimum $2 million per occurrence, $4 million aggregate. That's the minimum I recommend now, because if you go into somebody's house, they could sue you for anything. Or if you're doing some type of service for them, I mean, it's their word against your word. They hire an attorney, you gotta defend yourself. That's what we're here for. And what State Farm does is we hire a local attorney to defend you all the way through, and we get our very best deal for you on behalf of our client. So we're very good at defending our clients and taking care of them in that type of situation. But remember what I talked about when we were talking about liability and the umbrella coverage, because umbrella is so cheap, umbrella policy, even on top of that, you can have $1 million or $2 million, up to $15 million umbrella policy for less than $1,000 a year. You know, if you're over 50, it's less than $500. You'd have another $1 million in coverage. So it's a really nice perk to have umbrella policy coverage. What else? Who else has a question? Yes, sir.
Is it neighbor or neighbor?
Neighbor. Yeah, that's right. Like a good neighbor. You like that commercial? I've heard some negatives about it, but I thought it was pretty funny, actually.
What about car insurance?
What
Like,
about it?
You know, it used to be like 100, 350 was like a good,
Mhm.
but I'm talking, 20 years ago, like for today,
Yeah.
is that still a
So
good
for
coverage?
me, with
'Cause,
anybody that
with-
has a good job and has a house and retirement, all those types of things, I'm gonna talk to you about 250 for bodily injury for one person, 500,000 for bodily injury from multiple injuries, 100,000 for property damage, and then I'm also gonna talk to you about $1 million umbrella policy as a minimum. Because I see these lawsuits coming across my
Yeah.
desk every week. I see lawsuits. We had a lawyer in Conway sue one of my clients for backing into his client in a Food Line parking lot. And there was not really any damage to the car. Said he hurt his neck, it might have been doing 2 miles an hour, pain and suffering, lost his job, all that. They sued him for $1 million.
Did he win?
No.
Oh, okay,
No.
I was gonna say.
I think we paid out $2,500 or something. So that's the kind of
But
shit
yeah,
that comes
I know,
across. You
yeah.
have to defend yourself.
Well,
They
yeah.
could go to jury. They could go to a jury trial,
Yeah.
and then who knows?
So you recommend, I'm sorry,
No, go ahead.
you recommend 250 and
500
500
and
and then $1 million umbrella?
Yes, sir.
So you would conceivably pay out $1.5 million.
Yes,
if you
State
paid
Farm
out-
will.
If you paid out the
Yes.
limits of policy.
So, for me, I actually have a $5 million umbrella policy, and I have the 250, 500, 100 as what we call underlying insurance.
Mhm.
Because you have to have an underlying policy in place for the umbrella to
Right.
kick in. So for my $5 million umbrella, I think I pay maybe $1,800 a year for my umbrella. 'Cause I've got kids driving, I'm responsible when my kids are driving from my vehicles. So if all of us were kids at one time. I know you never sped anywhere or ran. I know you never ran anybody.
Mark, I did learn when my son was 14, hit a lady on a bicycle, where she
Mhm.
actually hit him.
Mhm.
But still, I learned the umbrella because suits were coming out
Oh,
of
yeah.
the woodwork, but the insurance company selling it way below. So
Oh, yeah.
everybody, I've had one ever since, and
Mhm.
he's 40 now. I've had an umbrella ever since, because I learned the art. I thought I had insurance,
Mhm.
but they said, well, yeah, but.
Right, yeah, but,
Yeah.
so I had a Citadel buddy of mine who, I went out to visit when I first started, and he was showing me his insurance plan that he had with Geico. And here's a guy who had $700,000 in retirement. He had a house that was totally paid for, cars, he had a lot of assets, right? He'd done well for himself. He was at 25, 50, 25 on his car insurance. I said, you've got to change this. You're risking everything you've worked so hard for. And so what we did is we put in the plan the 250, 500, 100 plus $1 million umbrella. We did that right away. So fast forward about 3 months, he's driving home from work. This is the time of year where it gets dark about 5 o'clock. And he never saw what he ran into. Something stepped out in the road, thought it was a deer that he'd hit, and he pulled over and kind of checked to see what it was, and he actually hit a pedestrian who stepped out in front of him. So, but he had two lawsuits from folks in Charleston that sued him. He didn't do anything wrong. He wasn't speeding, but you still have to defend yourself. And that's where we were so thankful that he at least had what we had put in place for him, not the $25,000, because that would have been all. Geico would have just written a check for $25,000 and say you're on your own, even though you weren't at fault, probably. So, yes, ma'am.
So if you have an LLC or multiple LLCs,
Mhm.
you have a personal umbrella, does it cover the LLCs? Do you have to have separate policies for different LLCs?
Yes, well, it depends. If your LLC is owned by you individually, then it will roll over into your LLC. But if you have several partners, then not so much. You need to have a commercial liability umbrella policy for your business if you have a lot
So
of
if you have
different.
a personal LLC.
Yes, ma'am.
Or with your spouse.
Yes, that's the personal
it's
umbrella will
covered
cover it,
under
yes.
your personal umbrella.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm.
So if you have the ridiculously low limits on a vehicle, and, but you have an umbrella, will the umbrella step in after those?
So you can't have ridiculously low underlying limits. So with State Farm, our minimum underlying limit is 250, 500, 100. Then
And
you
that's
get the
the
$1
minimum
million
now.
umbrella.
So if you have the 100, 300,
Yeah, you can't have an umbrella
Umbrella.
with State Farm. So that, let's think of it like this. Everybody would have 25, 50, 25 if you could get $1 million umbrella, because that would cover
Right.
you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
So you have to have those minimum underlying limits. Let me share one other quick story, real quick. Anybody in here have a partnership with another, like outside of your family? Anyone? Okay, you do. All right, so real quick, I had a friend of mine who went into business with a guy, and everything was going well. The business was booming. They were going all over the country doing everything. Business was growing, growing, growing. Well, his partner got sick and died within 3 months. He was about 10 years older. So at the funeral, the man's son comes up to my buddy and says, "Hey, I'm going to come by on Tuesday, and I want to let you know I'm going to take over Dad's spot as president, and I'm going to start running the company."
At the funeral?
At the funeral.
Yep.
This is a 24-year-old young man who knew nothing about the business,
Lord.
never been in it. Okay, so some ways to avoid this. Okay, number one is call your accountant and get a valuation on the business. So what's my business, what's our business worth? Let's say for round numbers it's $1 million. He says it's worth $1 million. So then you call your lawyer for probably $500 to $1,000. He'll do what's called a buy-sell agreement, which means it's like a living will for your business. So in the event of partner A dies, partner B is going to pay his family $500,000 in my scenario, and then he owns the business outright. So everybody, the two partners have agreed on what's going to happen in the event of somebody dying. So how do you pay for that? Well, we recommend paying that through life insurance. So you let the company pay the premium on term life insurance, which is the lowest price term or insurance we offer. And so something happens to one of the partners, the other partner automatically is going to own the business 100% because the life policy will pay out that particular family. So that's a big deal, and that's a true story. And the guy spent 3 years fighting his partner's family to get total control of the business. It was a mess, absolutely mess. Could have been avoided for less than $1,500. Yes, ma'am.
So I want to check my policies, so I'm texting my husband, okay, so 250 for what?
250 for bodily injury liability,
Okay.
and then 500,000 for bodily injury liability per accident. So that means that more than one person's injured.
Okay.
And then lastly, 100,000 in property damage. Like if you run into somebody's house, run into a car, run into.
How much is that?
100,000. 100,000. Yes, ma'am.
How much do at-fault accidents typically affect the rates for vehicle?
So you're saying with your personal driving record. So with State Farm, we have 28 points that go into premium, each person's premium. I'm not privy to all 28 because they don't tell us. But I do know that your driving record has a lot to do with it. I also know tickets and accidents, obviously, previous claims. So the State Farm average on claims is that we have one claim every 8 years with a policyholder that owns a car. So if you are filing 3 or 4 a year, that could definitely affect your rates, and it might cause State Farm to actually say, you might need to find somebody else. So it definitely affects it. Credit has creeped in as part of the premium as well. If you have really low credit score, then a lot of people don't know that, but that's in there. It's with every company. And if you're a homeowner, if you're married, all these things that go in that the public's not really privy to as to how State Farm determines the premium.
So if you're married, you obviously pay more, right?
You pay less.
I just did.
Not going to the club on the weekend.
You have it brought up under or uninsured.
Okay, all right, yep. So in South Carolina, you have to have the liability limit that we talked about, 25, 50, 25. But the other component that you have to have in car insurance is uninsured motorist coverage. So recently we had a young man run into one of my clients. He had no driver's license, no title, no tag and no insurance. Took off running through the
Most of
woods.
Wow.
And our, obviously our Horry County's finest, they secured him, brought him back in. And, but he really had nothing to go after. So we paid out for the uninsured motorist coverage on your policy. So those are the only two things that you have to have in South Carolina, unless you have a loan on your car. And if you have a loan on your car, First Reliance wants to protect their collateral, and they're gonna require you to have comprehensive and collision.
Sure.
It's comprehensive if you hit a deer, if your car gets stolen, wind damage, hail damage, lightning strike, flood damage, all those things are covered by comprehensive. Collision is just what it sounds like. If you collide into something, a wall, another car, you have to get your car fixed, and that's all part of the collision coverage.
Mark, so if you go back to the LLC, it stands for limited liability.
Yes, sir.
So, thanks for explaining to people that that doesn't protect you from anything.
Yeah, that's right.
If you don't have these other pieces.
Right, in place, that's right. Yeah.
Some people think that they do that and, oh,
That's it, oh, yeah, yeah.
not
Yes,
when
ma'am.
Morgan comes after.
Right, that's right.
It's gone up so much lately. Do you see it coming back now?
Well, here's the situation. Since COVID, actually our premiums went down during COVID because people weren't driving a whole lot. But after COVID, everything, so all the parts for the cars went up, getting the parts took longer, shipping the parts took longer because diesel fuel was costing so much. Everybody's paying their employees more, including the body shops. In 1 year, the body shop went from $50 an hour to $65 an hour in 1 year. That's a big increase. That's their hourly rate to fix cars, and nobody fixes more cars in America than we do. It's State Farm. So it's affecting. Whenever I was thinking, hey, this might actually be good for us for my clients when we went through COVID. But man, as soon as COVID was over and everybody got back to work and started driving more, and then diesel fuel shot up to $5 a gallon, and so shipping costs more. Everybody's paying their employees more, so I don't necessarily see it coming back down,
How
unfortunately.
about for homeowners though?
Homeowners, we actually have done very well with homeowners over the years. We hadn't had a homeowners increase in premium in about 5 years.
No,
Wow. We've been seeing insurances
triple.
doubling.
So we're having a 14% increase this year on homeowners insurance. What you'll see with us, your premium may go up some each year, but it's trying to keep up with inflation. So in other words, let's say you're paying $1,000 a year for $200,000 dwelling coverage. That makes sense? So the next year you might pay $1,100 for $220,000 in coverage, because we're trying to keep up with the building costs. I mean, building costs went from, when I first started in 2016, I was very comfortable with somebody insuring their house at $125 a square foot. But now, I mean, you can't build anything for less than probably $200 a square foot. So everything's gone up. Yes, ma'am.
Also, roofs have become an issue where we're
Mhm.
finding people can't get insurance if the roof is older than 10 years old. How
We
does
don't have that
State Farm
issue.
say-
We don't have that issue at
with
all.
State
No,
Farm?
no.
I have a off-the-wall question. Since you legislate, how would you go about legislating for all these HOA fees for condos going up so high with people that lived here for 15 years are selling their condos because they can't afford them?
Right.
Yeah, the HOA phenomenon is really an interesting topic. How many of y'all read about the condo down in Florida that collapsed? Remember that? And that was because the HOA board of directors were just, I heard this term one time called deferred maintenance. You probably heard that term, but I'd never heard of it before. Deferred maintenance, what is that? It's in their balance sheet. I was like, what is this deferred maintenance? That means they realize that they need to do something, but they don't have the money to do it. And so they just kept kicking the ball down the court, and they didn't address the issue, and you saw what happened. So if you live in an HOA or a high-rise like that or a condo complex, make sure you understand the risks that are in there and what these board of directors are doing. Try to at least read the minutes and what's going on, because that can really affect you. You know, if you're paying $400 or $500 a month in a HOA association, they're supposed to insure your building properly and to maintain the exterior of your building, because when you buy from me like a condo policy, what I'm paying for is when you walk up to your door and you open that door and step in, we're paying for the floors, the sheetrock, the cabinetry, the interior. So that's what we're responsible for. The HOA is responsible for the shell and everything there. So a lot of people don't realize that, and that can be a big issue. Where I had, when I first started, I assumed the policy from a guy that had written it many years ago, and the policy was written for $10,000 on a condo policy. That was all the building coverage he had. He had a major problem, the place burned to the ground, and all I had for him was 10 grand, because that's what they had chosen. And I'd never met with this guy. The claim was like 2 months after I had started, and that was not a good conversation. He said, well, I had no idea that that's all it's covered. I mean, that's barely covering the sheetrock or maybe some flooring. But you gotta totally outfit your, like, let's say this room, you walk into your condo here, everything you see in here, you have to pay for. The HOA is not paying for, they're paying for the exterior. Does that answer your question or not?
No, I like to go lobby for people I don't know, so I like to know how to go fix the situation. I have met
Call your
some-
congressman.
I have met some people out who have had to sell their homes.
Yes, ma'am.
They've been here for 15 years because their HOA went up to $700, and it's more than their mortgage ever was.
Right.
And they're on limited income. I think something should be done about it.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, that's above my pay grade. Ryan, you wanna stab at that?
Well, I'm just.
You know some congressmen, don't you?
I don't know any congressman.
You know,
I know. Well, thank you, Mark. Let's give him another round of applause. If you know me, I'm big on, time, getting out on time, but Mark and I will be around afterwards, for those of you that need to go right at 1, but if you got more questions, that's great, stick around and get them answered. We're not rushing you out of here, but for those folks, we do like to end right at 1 o'clock, so thank you for coming. Remember AI in August, the 3rd Wednesday of August, I believe it's the 17th. Put that on your calendar, make sure if you're coming that you bring your computer with you, because it will be a workshop. We're going to teach you how to use some of these tools. So I hope you have a great summer, and guys, we'll see you back in August, and we'll be sticking around for a few more minutes. Thank you for coming.
Hi. My husband's from Florence, and they know a company in Florence right now that's been in business for 30 years that does exactly what you do. It's called business. Would you like to have that information? It's called Strike. His son doesn't want to take over the business, and he needs his son. He's been in business for 30 years.
John, good to meet you earlier. Mark, yeah, good to see you. Doing okay?
Here's mine. Send me an email and I'll send you
The real problem.
I got a few. Are you gonna? Girls, here's my card.
How long you been down here?
401. That's an area code, that's 401 too. Keep the card. Oh, and tell me your name again? Rob. Jack. Sorry, I'm Jack.
Jackie, okay.
My dad was Jack, and I was firstborn. He didn't get a boy. So I'll send you over the information because you said you said somebody else owns the company, right? But they might be interested because he's really wanting to sell it now.
You'll see my phone.
I have my phone on silent. 412. You said 4012. I wonder what that was. 412. And your name's Jack. Yes, I am. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I got it.
Yeah, and it's a great restaurant. Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Okay.
How are you? Good, thanks.
It's not my husband, it's a friend of my husband's. I don't know for sure. I'll just try to connect you. How's that? Okay, Jack.
Whereabouts?
Have a good week. And if you have any questions on them, let me know, 'cause I can always ask my
Always good to see you. Take care of yourself. All in the name.